to fascists in any way, shape, or form. It's just an acknowledgement of reality. He is morally correct, even if his methods are insane sometimes. Islamists defending Turkish colonialism. When is Turkey, your country, going to stop occupying Cyprus? What is happening? And Constantinople, Turks are colonizers and invaders, right? Like, Cyprus aside, okay? Cyprus is one thing, but Constantinople, bitch, 1453, suck my dick. What do you mean Constantinople? Like, what are you talking about? Are you defending the glory of the Byzantine Empire? Like, what the fuck? It's called Istanbul, bitch. Anyway. All right. About 15 years ago, celebrated documentarian Louis Theroux headed to the occupied West Bank territory for a tell-all documentary. This week, he returns with the BBC's Louis Theroux, The Settlers, which launched in a few days' time. Writing exclusively for Deadline, Theroux details how he took a perpetrator-focused approach to the doc, discussed the complexities of covering the region, and argues why the world has amply demonstrated its ability to withstand what is happening in the West Bank. He also pays tribute to the Oscar winner No Other Land and questions why the pick was accused of anti-Semitism. Late last year, I spent 3 weeks traveling up and down the occupied West Bank, the region on the eastern edge of Israel, which for nearly 60 years has been under Israeli military occupation. I was there documenting the world of the Israeli ultranationalists who have settled there illegally under international law. My aim was to observe them up close, to try to understand their mindset and their actions, and to get a sense of the impact of their presence on the lives of the millions of Palestinians who live in the region. I'd made a documentary in the West Bank before, in 2010. At the time, I was struck by the way in which a group of people were able to pursue openly expansionist, ethno-nationalist vision while enjoying the benefits of a separate and privileged legal regime to those around them and being protected by the Israeli army. Because I've used some of the footage from his documentary all the way from 2010 in the past. You've probably seen, like, I think, wasn't it his documentary that showed the Siderot night cinema? I believe, like, talking that famous clip of the one girl being like, I am a fascist. Like, that was pretty sure that's from his old documentary. Anyway, the program titled Ultra Zionist went out on the BBC in 2011. I went on to other stories, but late in 2023, in the wake of the deadly attacks on October 7 and the ensuing devastating war, I began reading articles in the New Yorker, the New York Times, elsewhere suggesting that with the world's attention on Gaza, the settler community had cranked up its activities. There were reports that settlers issued with thousands of assault weapons by the government were running rampant, harassing and intimidating Palestinians. Yeah, this is the old doco that he did. Harassing and intimidating Palestinians, torching their shops and homes. Filming took place in 2 blocks. Based in Jerusalem and working with a team with years of experience covering the politics of the region, I met and interviewed settlers and their leaders, including the woman known as godmother of the settler movement, Daniela Weiss. I made several visits to the settlements, including one, Eviatar, which had been authorized by the Israeli government just a few months earlier. It means illegal under international law. Our first leg of filming took place during the olive harvest at a time when tensions run high, with the army, for alleged security reasons, preventing the Palestinians from reaching trees they say they've harvested for years. I filmed interactions between the army, the olive pickers, and the peace activists, many of them Israeli, who work with the Palestinian farmers. I also made a visit to the ancient biblical city of Hebron, where settlers moved illegally in 1968 and now live in a militarized zone of occupation. Filming of this kind carries risks. Some are physical, others are reputational. The narratives around Israel and Palestinians are fiercely contested. No piece of coverage will please everyone. In general, I try not to over-worry about how my reporting will be received. I trust my instincts. I accept mine is just one contribution in the vast offerings of coverage. Others are valid. Not to mention that I'm not a typical journalist and certainly not a current affairs reporter. I have my own way of tackling my subjects driven by my own personal curiosity. What I can offer is my take. I have a style and an approach which, for good or ill, I've made my own. You would call it perpetrator focus. I try to hear from those at the heart of a story who, broadly speaking, are viewed as being in the wrong. Naturally, giving airtime to these people can lead to accusations of platforming. I understand the charge. My decision to film means potentially millions will be exposed to the views of people who may be racist, fundamentalist, or bigoted. But making a documentary isn't just a matter of handing someone a megaphone and saying, have at it. It's a process of asking the right questions, challenging, contextualizing, doing journalism. I believe that if done in a way that is considered and forensic, this approach gives viewers access to attitudes. Okay, hold on. Access to attitudes and ideologies that is more powerful for being unmediated. The settlers' outlook, their beliefs, openly anti-democratic and supremacist as they sometimes are, is seen for what it is. There are also risks associated with drawing attention to forms of exclusionary nationalism when they are perpetrated by people who, in this case, are a part of a minority group with its own long, blood-stained history of enduring persecution. I have made several films that document anti-Semitism, including one that looks at its resurgence in the social media era. It's been one of the most troubling aspects of our new media landscape that it has led to such a vast and toxic onslaught of anti-Semitic content. That's the other side of this. Like, he has documented growing neo-Nazi movements in the Western world as well, pretty successfully, as I might add. I've actually watched some of his documentaries on that front as well. So it's like crazy to be like, this guy is an anti-Semite. But then again, you're in the chat of a content creator, a political commentator who has been a fighter, a combatter against anti-Semitism in the Western world for the past decade. And that hasn't stopped these pro-Israel groups from branding me as a vile anti-Semitic terrorist over and over and over again. So it does not matter. Ultimately, these people that want to defend Israel will call anyone and everyone a fucking vicious anti-Semite, including but not limited to Louis Theroux now, okay? And that is because that's the one fucking defense button that pro-Israeli groups have. It's worked in the past, so they think it'll work now, but it's very clear that it does not fucking work. But it should go without saying that extremists and ideologues exist in all communities. No one should get a pass. And when they are backed up by those in power, it's a dangerous combination. It would be a mistake to allow a phalanx of religious nationalist settlers and their far-right political supporters in government to co-opt Jewish identity and write off legitimate criticism of their beliefs and their actions as an expression of bigotry. Nevertheless, I accept that some might see my documentary as anti-Israel. Yeah, of course. I wonder why. Because it's good to be anti-Israel, and it is the morally correct position to be anti-Israel. I had the good fortune to watch the brilliant documentary, No Other Land, to find out that the film, while picking up a string of awards, including an Oscar, was accused of anti-Semitism, was a cautionary lesson that even the most exceptional filmmaking can be subject to attack. In their case, some of it was physical. One of its co-directors, Hamdan Bilal, was a victim of mob settler violence. By the way, I'm going to have Hamdan and I'm going to have them on again on the broadcast this week. I'm working on setting it up right now. Basil and Hamdan both. One of my reasons for wanting to go back, apart from the changes in the region itself, was the sense that increasingly the wider world was looking to what is happening in Israel and the occupied territories for clues as to what their own future might look like. Some global populist leaders view the ideology of the settler community as a prototype for a type of nationalism they would like to practice. Oh my God. Let me tell you something, okay? I don't know the full scope of Louis Theroux's attitude towards Zionism. I don't know. I don't really care ultimately, because I think his documentary stands alone as a very valuable piece of a very valuable piece of information that you can show to people, right? But what he is saying here is 100% correct. This is a real motivator for a lot of ultranationalists in the Western world. They look to Israel as a laboratory of pain and surveillance. Okay, they want to bring what Israel is doing to the Palestinians into the Western world, and in some instances, they already have started it. It is an inspiration. It is a testing ground. It is a blueprint. And it is some of our Western corporations that work in Israel as a testing ground against the Palestinians with technology that they will inevitably use on the domestic population as well, the imperial boomerang. They regard Israeli settlers as the tip of the spear of what they frame as a global war against Islam. The views expressed by some in the film are part of a much wider and increasingly powerful anti-democratic strain of thinking that is pushing back against notions of civil rights and the rule of law. And so there is renewed relevance to understanding what is happening in the West Bank. Recently, I was asked about how I thought the story would change in the future. I thought about how it had changed since my last visit 15 years ago. The difference, I realized, was mainly one of degree. More harassment, more displacement, more death. It's hard to say confidently that the situation is likely to improve. It's a depressing thought. It was the French aphorist La Rochefoucauld who said, "We all have enough strength to withstand the misfortunes of others. The world has amply demonstrated its ability to withstand what is happening in the West Bank." Anthony Lowenstein's Palestinian Laboratory is a great book to read on this topic. Rochefoucauld. Sorry. What is this? The Masters of the Universe. The Masters of the Universe are Jews. Former U.S. Senator Norm Coleman proclaims at the Jerusalem JNS Policy Summit, calling on Jewish tech industry CEOs to counteract GNC's growing support for Palestine. Coleman was a warm-up act for Netanyahu. Dude, this is what's so crazy about it, is that, like, it is for Philo-Semites who are super pro-Israel, some of the statements that they fucking put forward are virtually indistinguishable from neo-Nazis. This is unironically what I mean when I say, like, they're doing, like, I guess it's like they're not necessarily woke, but it almost comes across as like what Jake Tapper does sometimes. It's like woke anti-Semitism, like dual loyalty, but wokely, right? It's fucking crazy.
A majority of Gen Z have an unfavorable impression of Israel. And my friends, I think the reason for that is that we're losing the digital war. Okay, they're getting their information from TikTok and whatever it is, and we're losing that war. When you think about it, the masters of the universe are Jews. You know, we've got Altman and AI, we got Zuckerberg, we got Sergey Brin, we got the whole group across the board. Jan Combs, you know, founded WhatsApp. It's us.
Bro, that is a fucking psychotic thing to say, dude. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when saying Jews ran the world or the universe was an anti-Semitic trope. I mean, it is, and it still is a ridiculous and anti-Semitic thing to fucking say. But again, this guy is saying it at the behest of being pro-Israel. Do you understand?
And we have to figure out a way to win the digital battle. Amelia, we got to get our digital sneakers on so that the truth can prevail over the lies. And when we do that, the future of Israel will be stronger because a majority of all Americans will support Israel. We'll make that happen. We have to make it happen. Thank you.
Yeah, he's like, come on. Get to work. Get to work, Jews. It's time to do Jewish mind control. We are the masters of the universe. It's time to do Jewish mind control, please. to fucking to do Jewish mind control on the American population. Oh my God. He's like, come on, Jews, control the media. What are you doing? Oh, incredible. Do you think Israel could take the narrative back and convince the general public to support Israel again? Fuck no. No. That's why this type of stuff is happening right now. No. No, not even a little bit. That's why the pro-Israel guys are losing their fucking minds, okay? Watch, Netanyahu reveals part of the Mossad beeper operation. In the third week of September, we learned that Hamas, or rather Hezbollah, had sent three beepers to be scanned in Iran. We had previously bombed a scanner they were going to bring in, so we got rid of that and the guy who operated. But now they had this, and they had the minuscule amount of TNT. When the Mossad guy showed it to me a few months earlier, he was giving me an update on how many we had inside. And I said, well, is that really going to do the job? I mean, how much TNT do we have there? And he said, I don't know. Nanograms, something like that. I said, what is that going to do? It's not going to do anything. He said, oh, no, it'll do it. I said, give me that. I took the beeper and I threw it against the wood paneling in my office and it dented it. I said, okay, go ahead. But now we were all set to go. And it turned out they were scanning it. I learned about it and I was crazy. I said, what? Why didn't you tell me this? They said, well, it happened a few days ago. I asked, how long does it take for them to do this? They said it could take a day. I said, well, we have to do it right away. I don't know why you sent me this link thinking that this doesn't mean that it's a proxy, but oh, you sent the wrong link. Netanyahu said he was impressed by Hezbollah leader Nasrallah, who influenced Iran more than Iran influenced them, calling him the axis of the axis. He added that the Biden administration was only notified of the Nasrallah elimination operation as a courtesy, with IDF jets already en route. Bro, the JNS meetup is fucking crazy. They're just like, I guess they're just doing a flex.
I was particularly impressed by the fact that not only was he a capable leader, but also that his relationship with Iran was somewhat different from what I thought. This
is the Jewish News Syndicate.
I would say he manipulated Iran much more than Iran manipulated him. He influenced Iran much more than Iran influenced him. And when I read this report, I came to the clear conclusion that he was the axis of the axis. And if we remove him, the axis would break. And so we went into a debate in the cabinet. Do we take him out or not? And there were two things that were brought up. One, we have to tell the Americans. That again? I said, no, we're not going to do that.
They're clapping. God, Americans are so fucking, they're so cucked, dude. American leadership is so goddamn cucked. Oh, God. It's so fucking stupid, dude. You have no self-respect. If you are an American politician and you hear this fucking Hitlerian demon over here go to flex mode to be like, we don't have to tell Americans anything. It's like, first of all, he's American, okay? He's from fucking Philadelphia. Don't forget that. Number two, this country that he runs would not exist if it wasn't for the United States of America. So the notion that like that he can get away with just being like, yeah, fuck America. We do whatever the fuck we want. Like, the idea that he could flex like this and not have a single fucking peep from an American politician is so insane, dude. It's so insane. He's the one being like, have you said thank you recently to J.D. Vance at this point?
And the second was, well, you have to really think seriously about the consequences. I mean, Iran has a lot of ballistic missiles. A ballistic missile, something from where I'm standing right up to that wall. It's like a bus full of tons of TNT. And you have many hundreds of these, and they would fall in Israel, and they would do serious damage. So you couldn't quite dismiss that.
Dude, it is not like Epstein blackmail or whatever. I don't think you guys understand. For a lot of people, it's just simply they don't want to rock the boat. They're afraid of getting constantly fucking propagandized against, okay? Look no further than the unlimited amounts of shit that I experience. Why? It's just politicians don't want to deal with that. A lot of people don't want to deal with that. You say anything about Israel that's critical, you are going to have the most mentally ill stalkers for the rest of your life. And they're going to constantly fucking smear you. Unlimited smears. That's it. Nobody wants to deal with that. That's the whole point of the fucking smear campaign. So that you shut people the fuck up, because nobody wants to deal with mentally ill stalkers. Nobody wants to get unseated. The problem is, or not the problem rather, but like I am a demonstration of how all of that unlimited smear campaign still ultimately amounts to nothing if you still have just a little bit of fucking bravery to say the truth. Just keep saying the truth. Fuck these guys. Who cares? Oh. Do you see what I mean? But these guys are too afraid. And also, they're so old that this is not even within their vision. This is not even within their worldview. So many politicians are over the age of 60. And let's be real, if you're over the age of 60, then you have never even entertained the notion that Israel is anything but the most moral beacon, the arbiter of truth and all things holy on the fucking planet. There is a million different reasons as to why old people have organically, through social conditioning, believe themselves, or social conditioning, like fucking dupe themselves into believing genuinely that Israel is awesome. That's it. Like, that is the problem here, okay? This right here, this is something we talked about already. This is Ruth Weiss. She is a dying breed, okay? This fucking sociopath is one of the godmothers of Hasbara. Okay? We've covered this before. To be honest, that could and absolutely does cost the careers of politicians who speak against Israel. I know. This woman is a psycho. Here, I'll let her words do the talking, okay? She wrote this article. Harvard is an Islamist outpost. This lady and her opinions. Let's take a look at what she has to say. Once again, 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Our job is not to make you look good, American Jews. What do you have to worry about? Your job is to make us look good. And here's how you do it. Every one of us has to serve 3 years in the Army, 2 years in the Army, some of us 5 years, and then for the rest of our lives, you have got to serve 2 or 3 years in the army of words. You've got to learn to fight the political battle, which is even more important at this point than the military battle that we are. We'll fight the military battle. We're not asking you necessarily to come and be lone soldiers, although some of you can. You've got to learn how to fight back on the campuses, how to make the arguments. Now, they keep shifting.
She's explaining the importance of Hasbara.
You know, the ground.
Who the fuck is we, bitch? You're Canadian? Yeah, except it doesn't matter. She's not even talking about this as a Canadian. She's not even talking about this as a Canadian Jew or an American Jew. She's talking about this as an Israeli. She's saying we have to go out and we have to fucking serve in the military. You here in the Western world, living in your comfort, okay, have to do your part. This is a call to action, unironically, to say, like, where's your fucking loyalty, American Jews? How dare you not defend us? How dare you not defend Israel? And that's what's so crazy about it. Like, this is in broad daylight. This is not like a hidden secret thing. This is a person that gets a positive reception from even some liberal institutions as well. Like, it's not. This isn't like a psychopathic Kahanist rabbi or something that was caught in a phone camera footage 25 years ago talking about how fucking the goy are actually cattle or whatever that Nazis love presenting over and over again to be like, this is what all Jews believe. That's not what all fucking Jews believe. Okay? But a lot of liberal Zionists do actually see this as a role because of this kind of social conditioning. This is like fucking built into your brain. It's very hard to escape.
The ground keeps shifting under us. They keep changing the language. Intersectionality wasn't even a word 10 years ago. Now suddenly it's intersectionality. You've got to stay on top of it. And you know how we train for the Army? We don't train for defensive warfare. If the war against Israel ever had to be fought on Israeli soil, do I have to tell you? It's an impossibility. So it's the same thing. Don't let the war of words ever be fought about Israel's nature. Let it be fought about why you can't accept Israel, why you have to single out this tiny people.
Like, she's giving you the tools. Like, you've heard every single one of these arguments. Why do you have to single out Israel? It's giving anti-Semitism, sweetie. You're doing a microaggression.
Try to find Israel on the map. It's hardly there. We used to play this game, Where's Waldo? Where is Waldo on the map? Are you going to really tell me that this is the country you want to blame? Teach them how to defend by attacking. Teach them really what one says as in fencing. You've got to make demands on them. They've got to serve for 3 years in the army of words.
Well,
Is the Jewish Agency for Israel. Anyway, this is not like a secret, right? This is just like her genuine opinion. She said even more unhinged shit. She's made like beeper jokes and stuff like that. She's 88 years old. 88-year-old Ruth Wise, author of the hilarious Harvard is an Islamist Outpost article, quite literally represents a dying breed. The poll below shows just how stark the generational divide on Israel-Palestine is. The wise of the world will soon be gone, a burden lifted. Younger adults sympathize more with Palestinians than older Americans do. The problem is, older Americans also make up 99% of Congress. So either because of that, they have this old attitude towards Israel that they cannot fucking give up on, or because of the fact that they're getting money from Israeli lobbying groups, and or they're terrified into silence because they just don't want to be fucking called anti-Semitic and possibly lose their seat and lose their grip on power. These are all the major reasons as to why a lot of people, either organically or inorganically, are pushed into silence or pushed against taking the initiative and saying the truth about Israel, which, by the way, would garner them a shit ton of popularity. Unironically, they would. More with the Israeli people, more with the Palestinian people. When you look at U.S. total adults, 31% still say they're more with the Israeli people, 16%. This is Pew Research from February 13th to 25, 2024. This number has shifted dramatically even then. Why Zohran Mamdani believes he'll win over Jewish voters as Israeli critic surges second behind Cuomo in New York City mayoral race. Wait, they put me in the article too? Asked whether he thought there was anti-Semitism in some of the rallies, Mamdani said that the evidence of anti-Semitism is presented. It absolutely is incumbent upon me to condemn that. He recently appeared in a lengthy sit-down interview with Sean Piker, a Twitch streamer, who said it doesn't matter if Hamas raped Israeli women on October 7th. Mamdani did not call out Piker. Many New Yorkers have been rightfully horrified by genocide that we've seen over 15 months, Mamdani told him. Yeah, exactly. Wait, what? No, this is not what I... Bro, I hate that this is like still the framing on this issue, man. Oh my God, it's so fucking disingenuous. No, it doesn't matter if Hamas raped Israeli women on October 7 to justify a genocide of all Palestinian people. That's the argument. Stop fucking misquoting me on this. Oh my God. It is such an indefensible position for pro-Israeli people that they just fucking keep clip-chimping the first part about it. But the reality of the matter is, I think most people understand what this statement is because it doesn't make any sense on its own. You have to be primed into believing that I'm just saying like it's good or something. You know what I mean? Before October 7, Mamdani came under fire. Yeah, I mean, this type of shit doesn't fucking matter. The code is not even literal. You said it doesn't change the dynamic for me at all. Yeah. You really need to replace her. It doesn't matter with it's not relevant. One sounds like a moral evaluation to idiots. It is a moral evaluation. Because it is a moral evaluation. It is. Do you think that the possibility of rapes happening on October 7 justify genocide? I don't. And if you were to ask 100 people, I suspect 99 of them would say the same thing. What are we talking about? Yeah, I am not shying away from making a moral declaration. Yes, the rapes happening or suspected rapes happening It does not justify doing a genocide upon an entire population. Nothing justifies a genocide. Here, I'll take it one step further. Okay? There is no hypothetical justification for a hypothetical genocide of all Jews living in Israel because of the Israeli regime's crimes against the Palestinians either. And there is documented evidence of systematic sexual assault and abuse that the Israeli authorities have committed against Palestinians in captivity. I still don't believe that that would warrant a genocide of all Jewish people in Israel, because that's not what I believe. It's an insane fucking statement. Anyway, the point is that this kind of attitude is 65 plus Republicans, 70%, 50 plus Republicans, 61%. It's going away. This was from 2024. If you look at the new Pew study numbers on this, it's completely shifted. It's shifted even further into the Palestinian sympathy side. Okay? Also, I don't give a shit about the misquote. Who cares? Fucking Forward magazine, whatever.
And then the question was, do you do it or you don't do it? Well, I stopped. The cabinet meeting went on for quite some time. Cabinet was...
Is Forward not pro-Israel? So it was probably... I mean, Forward has... Forward is more on the Haaretz camp. Maybe not as liberal as Haaretz is, but like there's definitely some articles that are critical of Israel, and most of the articles are not. But it's a Jewish lifestyle magazine ultimately, so it's like it produces the same kind of fucking slop that you hear from all these other places that ultimately serves the purpose of writing Israel defense. Yeah. I brought this up on an episode a while back, but it really made me laugh when one of these big Hosber accounts posted this poll as if it were a major coup for Israel. Roughly one-fourth of Americans saying, I'm rooting for Hamas on the phone is a fucking catastrophic result for Israel. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's partially because they presented it as two options. And when you present it as Israel, a nation state, versus Hamas, a group that has been branded as a terrorist organization, and you still get 23% of Americans that on the phone declare their support for a terror organization that is Muslim, okay? That it's over. It's over at that point, because you gave people no option to choose anything else, right? Because you were fearful that if you said Israel versus Palestinians, that these numbers would reflect much larger favorability. And this is an old poll. This is a poll from like right after October 7. I don't know if those, if I recall correctly, this is from like a Harvard Siena poll that was conducted like pretty close to October 7. But yeah, people get the option of these two. They're going to go with, well, not Israel, okay? So you kind of locked yourself into this. But yeah, here is the new Pew Center research numbers. Obviously, negative views of Israel has risen in the United States. U.S. adults from 2022 who have a unfavorable view of Israel grew from 42% to 53%. They're even losing Republicans, which is crazy. And they've lost damn near the entirety of the Democratic Party at this point. But you might be wondering why. You might be wondering why this is not reflected in our politicians. And the reason for why it is not reflected within our politicians is because they're all old as fuck. And they are genuinely terrified of any sort of counter, any sort of resistance. They do not even want to entertain. They do not want to entertain a constant fucking smear campaign. What they do not realize is that a constant smear campaign and AIPAC money is ultimately negligible if you have the side of the, if you're on the side of the truth and you have the people on your side. It's completely negligible, especially when you create a permission structure by coming out and saying something against Israel, and AIPAC doesn't have enough money to fucking fund every race. That's it. It's obviously different if you're a Republican, because U.S. evangelicals have a more favorable opinion of Israel than U.S. Jews do, ironically enough. So obviously, if your base of support draws from a lot of evangelical support, then yeah, you're probably gonna be in a totally different situation. But there is a partisan angle here. Like, it is unconscionable for the Democrats not to use this as a fucking major point of contention. Yeah, it's not just AIPAC. I know. It's all the Israel affinity groups that masquerade as like Jewish advocacy groups or Jewish culture and Jewish lifestyle groups. All these fucking NGOs, they all serve the same fucking purpose. I know. It is a major, major, major industry. Republicans and Democrats are about equally likely to describe the conflict as personally important. In both parties, people age 50 and older are more likely than younger adults to say the conflict is important to them personally. But among Republicans, the gap between older and younger adults is wider than it's among Democrats, 10 points. Younger Republicans are also considerably more likely than older Republicans to say they are not sure whether the war is important to them personally. Jewish Americans are particularly likely to say the conflict is important to them personally, with 93% saying this, including 74% who consider it very important. Large shares of Muslims and white evangelical Protestants say the conflict is either very or somewhat important to them personally. The New York Times author who wrote the article about you is currently the target of a harassment campaign by the L3 community. I know. And he, that's just how that community operates nowadays. That's how they move. Okay. Okay, bro, move on already. Who stunlocked this man on Israel this early in the stream? This is newsworthy. I don't know why the fuck you are just discounting this, as you got this dude is saying shit like this.
A majority of Gen Z have an unfavorable impression of Israel. And my friends, I think the reason for that is that we're losing the digital war. Okay, they're getting their information from TikTok and X, whatever it is, and we're losing that war. When you think about it, the masters of the universe are Jews. You know, we've got Altman and AI, we got Zuckerberg, we got Sergey Brin, we got the group across the board, Jan Combs, founded WhatsApp. It's us. And we have to figure out.
I've noticed an uptick of people who want to change the subject when you talk about Israel-Palestine. Yes, because they think it's irrelevant to them. There are some people who are sympathetic to Israel and don't like it when I talk about it too much. There are some people who are haters that want me to stop talking about it because they're worried that it's like changing people's opinions on it. And then there's a lot of people who also personally think, we get it. I got it. It's not that relevant to me. Start talking about the economy. Okay? My goal is to try to get those people who are genuinely in here, who are fans, who also are on our side, right? Who are pro-Palestinian, who are sympathetic to the Palestinian plight, to recognize